Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Welcome back to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. You thought you'd not see another episode? Posh. We always have. Pish posh. We always have something up our sleeve. Always. And today we have a great episode to share with you. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, my mentor, my best friend,
Paul Schreiner. Chris, Paul Schreiner. That's who you're talking about.
Yep, that's who I'm talking about. And you know what? I realize this is the first time in how many podcasts we've done where I went first. We're shaking things up. You know, nothing can ever be taken for granted on this program.
Keeping it real. Like our loyal listeners are going to notice that it's going to show up on the bingo card. It always shows up on the bingo card, right?
Yep. It was a little embarrassing that we had to tell Ian to get off camera for this intro. But the kid's still learning. I mean,
he's still learning.
Well, he showed up a little late, which I think we need to talk to him post-show. He was last one at the recording, which, you know, for all his faults, and gosh, he had many. Producer David was never late.
With that said, I do want to make sure we jump into the show. I think what we have a great guest in Shamir Ozery, absolutely fantastic. I think talking about something that a lot of us just don't know much about, but I think is going to become very foundational going forward. So really excited about him. Grateful to our sponsors. Audience Point, that's who I work for, with, founded, all of the above, and has really extended me to be able to do this kind of stuff. And especially on an episode like today, I'm so excited, grateful that audience, that we've decided that this is an important piece of our whole story. Thanks to Audience Point for that. Chris, do we have any other sponsors?
Junior sponsor is Email Connect, which I founded. So Paul and I both founded something. I'm president, though. Paul is not president.
No, I'm just something. I'm not sure.
He's just a worker bee. And as you know, Email Connect helps brands in the vendor selection process around CDPs, ESPs, and other elements of the MarTech stack.
Yeah, excellent. Well, and I think with that, let's get into the episode.
Let's go, and we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. I am at home today. Chris, it looks like you're somewhere else. Is that right?
No, I'm at home. I'm at Sweet Home, Alabama.
Sweet Home, Alabama. There you go.
Different background. Out of the home office into the undertaker's office in our house in Alabama.
Right. Today we have a pretty special guest, I think, Chris. Honestly, super, super relevant, top of mind. I've had a lot of conversations with folks within, the digital marketing space, and we have a huge get today. Shamir Ozery. He is head of Web3 at Alogrand. Alogrand is a layer 1 cryptocurrency, and we can get into some of those details, finer details later. But he's been put in charge of building out the Web3 ecosystem within the Alogrand community, which is no small task. And Chris, I know you've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of questions, and I'm super excited to have this conversation because it seems so very relevant to our world today. But before we get started there, welcome, Shamir.
Thanks. Guys, thanks for having me.
Yes.
I've been sharpening my knives for a couple of weeks.
Oh, all right. I'm looking forward to it.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, let's get this thing started then.
So where we usually start is we'll go around the horn, just and this is to build rapport with our guests, honestly, Shamir, before Chris really starts to stab. You know what I mean?
Well, and to make at least a nod towards the title of our podcast, some gesture. Of our podcast.
So do you want to talk about what you're drinking today? Chris, you want to start us out?
Yeah. Oh, wait, you guys start, right? This is your show.
No, it's all good.
So I've got my Fairhope cup. That's the
nice
Town Pier, Fairhope, Alabama cup, and it's filled with delicious Santo Domingo coffee. Yes, we have that down here too. And that's from the Dominican Republic, which Paul has a special relationship with the Dominican Republic. So I drink this coffee as an homage to Paul and his wife. And what is that, Paul? What is that again?
Right before COVID, Chris, and I know you know this because you've asked this question every podcast since we started.
I forget.
Yeah, we had an all expense paid trip to the Dominican Republic right before COVID. My mother-in-law was flying out to watch our 5 children, and then we didn't get to go, and we lost it all. So thank you for bringing that up, okay, Chris. I just have coffee, but I want to point out my mug says Shriner on it. We went to one of those painting places, right? And we as a family we made mugs. It was really fun. So
why does it say please wait on the bottom of it?
Well, because Chris, while I'm drinking, I don't want to be interrupted. There you go.
Especially
all right, Shamir, tell us about what you're drinking today.
Yeah. I'm a mate geek, yerba mate. Ever since traveling in South America, it does the job, guys. It does make me sweat. I won't deny that, but just antioxidants, gives me energy, and it's something I can just sip on throughout the whole day. So that's my thing. I do also have iced coffee here, specifically for now. So this is my 4 p.m. iced coffee. I'm in Israel, by the way. So yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Okay, I was going to. Because it looks like you're sitting outdoors.
I am.
So it's obviously warm, and but late in the day. Well, I do have a bonus drink too. I have some water if I get parched. Lime watermelon. So I'm also going two-fisted a little bit.
Well, let's start with this, because I know, Chris, and I'm sort of assuming that you are our audience today, right?
Yes.
And so
I'm the guy, you know that meme, and actually everybody says it wrong. It's not meme, it's May, just in case it's not meme. Everybody else pronounces it wrong.
So everyone's wrong except you.
Where the guy's sitting in the park and he's got the sign and it said, and if I'm that guy and my sign says cryptocurrency is bunk, convince me otherwise. Yes. So that's me.
We'll get to that, Chris. I think, but because Shamir is in charge of Web3, I think let's start there and then back our way into cryptocurrency, because I think there's a lot of cool nuance that Alogrand brings to the table. But let's start with just what Web3 is. Would you mind offering up a definition, Shamir?
Sure. Just before that, hold on to that thought one moment. I'd also like to differentiate between cryptocurrency, which is what gets a lot of hype, a lot of buzz, prices go up, prices go down, and blockchain technology, which is a fundamental layer of technology upon which things can be built. Right. And cryptocurrencies, granted, right, function on blockchain technology. That's that's the layer one. So when we talk about like Alogrand being a layer one, we're talking actually about blockchain.
Right.
And by the way, there's a cryptocurrency called Algo that makes it go around, right? But at the end of the day, we're talking about blockchain.
Can we talk about what blockchain is for Chris? And I maybe, and you can tell me I'm stupid here, Shamir. It wouldn't be the first time, but it'd be the first time you've called me stupid, which I wouldn't mind. I think of blockchain as a little bit like a shared database. Is that a fair way to say that?
That is a fair way to say it. Yeah. And the only thing I'd add is, so you have this shared database. I guess an easy way to envision it, like imagine a very, very, very long Excel spreadsheet, right? That holds people's balances at any given time. And it's not just balances of one thing. It could be, balances of multiple things. And you can add logic to it. So you can add logic to the actual assets that are being held. Like you can set an expiration date on them, or you can say, well, they can go here, but they can't go there. Or you can, again, with another term that I'll introduce, using smart contracts, again, you can program that if something happens in the real world or in the digital world, then, there's a transfer of the asset or it gets fractionalized or something happens, there's some kind of consequence. So I'll just add, it's like this shared database that can essentially be programmed and without any third-party facilitator, but the program, right? But the actual code that is facilitating what happens. Make sense?
Chris, are you on board with that? I know we probably already got too nerd for you, so I'm sorry about that.
No, I will say that's the best explanation of blockchain I've got to sort of be nice that I've ever heard. And
Okay.
So I'm just a simple suburban boy, as Paul knows. So again, a lot of these things do fly over my head. But
producer Ian, we're gonna have to write that down for the promotion of the show. That's the best explanation of blockchain I've ever heard, Chris Marriott. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. All right.
So,
Yeah. All right. I love that quote. Now Web3, hold on. Because I actually, let me steal a definition. It's one sentence. I love it. I took it from Chris Dixon of A16Z. He calls Web3 the internet owned by the builders and users, orchestrated with tokens. Right? Simply put. So it's the internet that we know, except by adding a layer of blockchain or decentralized, DLT, decentralized ledger technology, it doesn't matter, again, but adding this ability to add currencies, whether they're actual currencies or NFTs, which I'm sure we'll talk about, right? So unique digital tokens that represent something, and again, we'll get into that. So through this additional layer, you can actually add this level of ownership and transactions that is not, it just wasn't possible in the Web 2 world that we know, and Web 1. And by the way, like I'm happy to kind of talk about the evolution of the web if that's a useful way of framing it, or you guys tell me.
Yeah, I think our audience generally knows. I mean, there a lot of them are digital marketers, not all of them. We've sort of gotten some other folks as well, but in general, the idea that like Web 2 technology, that kind of made sense. But Web3 is a little different. It's brand new for a lot of people. And because it's tied to cryptocurrency, I think that there is a stigma for some.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And so I wanted to sort of get there. And even how you explained it, I think in some ways almost reinforces that stigma a little bit because of the technical nature of it. And honestly, I think that's because it's so new. It is also so, it's still very complicated. We haven't figured out the right language and metaphors that we build on top of, right? So Chris, let's suss out a little bit that concept of token, because you bring that up. I don't want to get into NFTs yet necessarily, but what is a token? Talk about that, Shamir.
Yeah, I mean, so a token is an identifiable asset on a blockchain that at any given time is only in one place. And what do I mean by that? So actually, let me maybe unpeel just the transition between Web 2 and Web 3, because I do think it's relevant. All right. So in Web 2, right, suddenly you have e-commerce, you have streaming, you have email marketing, like you have all these things. And it's this read and write web as opposed to Web 1, which is kind of this read-only web, right? And everyone is their own publisher, right? Everyone can create content, they can monetize, they have YouTube, they have TikTok, they have all these different channels at their disposal in order to spread the word or share their story, or just provide awesome content. But where things kind of got weird is when you start having these monopolies, right? Or this cartel of publishers or whatever you want to call them, right? But basically, we all know who they are, whether it's Google, and you think of like search engine listings and SEO, whether it's again Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, right? So today anyone can be their own publisher, but there's a little asterisk there, right? It's you're depending on these huge platforms to basically let you spread the word. And like, a lot of us know recently, who was it that was, I read banned? Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin, right? Like these are people who granted are controversial, there are different opinions about who they are, what they are, but at the end of the day, Twitter can say, no, we're deplatforming you. You're not going to use us. It doesn't matter that we're the town hall, quote unquote, right? So what Web 3 really does is it decentralizes, or it allows models that basically decentralize that ability for people to share their story. And the way it does that, it gives them the ability to own their content, right? So so if I publish something on Medium, or if I publish something on Facebook, right? Again, that is my content, but I don't own it. Facebook owns it. Right. So in this new web, there will be multiple publishing platforms where you hold the key, right? So there will be, for example, just like random example, you will have an NFT, so a unique identifier, a token. It's kind of like a canonical tag. Let's think of it that way, right? So it's this canonical tag that says this is the original. And even though everyone can duplicate this content, they can copy paste, right? They can publish it elsewhere. this is where it originated from. And even though anyone can see it, only one person can own it. And
Right.
once you have that ownership, right? So once you're actually holding it, and you can verify that you're owning it, suddenly you can start. It opens a world of opportunities into how you can monetize it as well.
Well, let me
So
add.
is it too simple to say in that scenario, the NFT it acts as a watermark on a real piece of paper where you can
in a sense, yeah. No, I actually I think you're right, because what an NFT is, again, is it's an asset that is documented on a blockchain, and that asset has some metadata, right? So it includes some information about what it is, and you could say that, yeah, in a sense, that information is the watermark. I actually like that analogy.
Right.
Oh.
Chris, I'm going to add something here because I think it's very relevant to our space in terms of digital marketing. And I'd love for you to sort of suss this out a little bit, Shamir. Like, because you're dealing with token ownership, right? Now we also have all of these consents baked in, right?
Right.
Consent is everywhere in the blockchain. Do I want to do this? Yes. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Like that's the key to getting in. Like that's your ticket to ride, is you need to consent to everything. And so what does that relate to, Chris? I mean, we see that all the time in GDPR, right?
Yep.
In CPRA, like the whole basis of all of this is consent, right? But the problem is these large organizations, they're put in charge of consent, like, collect consent from your subscribers. This is what this means. But the problem is it's put on them to sort of act in good faith to do that correctly, where blockchain would sort of require it to be, again, around a given standard, that if you don't participate with that standard, consent doesn't work. How's that for, what am I missing there, Shamir?
Well, I mean, I think broadly, yeah, consent. And, if I kind of have to think in a nutshell, how does Web3 kind of change marketing? I really do think it's a much more permission-based system, right? So I think if kind of historically, and just like think of advertising, right? Advertising is full of friction. No one wants to see an advertisement, right? We tolerate it in order to watch content, right? And we've kind of been conditioned to do it. And even, by the way, like, I know where you're gonna say, wait, but what if I love Nike, right? And like, I want to know about their next shoe release or something like that. So I would even then, I want to be able to control the time and place where I actually do consume that content. I don't want to be looking for something on YouTube or Google and then see that ad, right? Because I'm actively looking for something else. Like that's not part of that journey, right? So I would say, yeah, consent is a huge piece of it. Again, with NFTs, which we can talk about, you can suddenly
let's transition into that.
You want? Okay, all
yeah,
right.
Let's talk about NFTs.
Well, I'm still trying to. So again, so Web3, you own your content. It can still be. Where are you? How do I put something onto Web3 today?
Yeah.
How do I say I want to write a blog? I mean, I'm going to dumb it down to my level.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a blog post. Normally, I could put it, or I'm going to write a screed, and I could put it on the Facebook, on LinkedIn, or the Twitter in a very small dose, or 10 Twitters in a row. But where do I put it on Web.3? How do I navigate?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's frankly one that I think my answer is going to kind of prove to you just how early we are in the space, right? Okay. So to start with, you're right. You need some kind of user interface. You need some kind of website or landing page, right, or marketplace where you have that ability. Today and kind of traditionally, I think, just to give a snapshot of where things stand, there you would be purchasing an NFT either from a marketplace like OpenSea on Ethereum, or if you look at the Alogrand ecosystem, Rand Gallery or AlgoGems or AB2 or some of the others, and you would be, again, purchasing an NFT. And when I say purchasing an NFT, what I really mean is you would be connecting your wallet. So you would have either a mobile or a desktop wallet that you would be connecting to the website, kind of like a login.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Think of it that way. And when you connect to that website, you are able to purchase an NFT. So again, what does that purchase look like? It's the Web 2 experience that we're used to. You click buy, right? And then there's an atomic transaction on Alogrand. Again, typically, right, you will be sending fees and you will be receiving that NFTs. And now this NFT sits in that wallet. Okay.
So, Chris, I've got a wallet here on my phone. It's
Yep.
the Para wallet, right?
It is the Para wallet. Wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome, Para and Alogrand, right? And so like I log in and it, there's my balance. And within there, I've got I won't show you that one. But Chris, you'll love this one.
Showing us?
This is an NFT I put together. Have you seen that before, Chris?
Yes, I have.
That's my
It's hard to see, but I recognize it. Yes.
Right. It's me as a minifig standing on a shark. So that NFT lives in my digital wallet, just like Apple Wallet has a wallet that lives on your phone, and there's assets that come into it. It's kind of the same. Does that make sense?
I get, so far I get that. So, but now, so I have this in my wallet. How do I post my screen?
Yeah. What's next? Right.
Yeah. What do you do with it? Right. That's the question. Right. So NFT, again, the answer is, unfortunately, it really depends. And we can kind of break it down to, how it depends.
Because this is building block technology.
That's
Chris.
right. But
this is foundational.
100%. Right. But if we let's just take the blog post example. All right. As an example. So imagine a place where, you wrote this. Well, actually, this is more from a publisher perspective, right? So if you wrote that, you would be the one minting the NFT. What is minting an NFT? Think of filling out a form saying, all right, this is the image or this is the content and this is where it lives, right? This is what the asset is going to be called. So when we say NFT, again, just to maybe take a step back, it's a non-fungible, basically means not interchangeable. Right. So one isn't the other. So like a dollar is a dollar is a dollar, Bitcoin's a Bitcoin, right? But one NFT is always different from another NFT, right? So you are issuing kind of this unique identifier of an asset on a blockchain, and then you decide what to do with it. So as a publisher, you can say, hey, I am going to issue this NFT, and now I'm going to sell it. Now, to your point, you need a marketplace to sell it. Right. So you would need someone to build that. And you would need to use some kind of platform. Then furthermore, right, imagine a world where you can break that one NFT into 100 different units. Okay. So what we call it fractionalizing an NFT. So you would take that, you'd break it into 100 different units, with each unit representing 1% of the ownership of that asset. And then say, I don't know, there's like, it's phenomenal content. That
if Chris wrote it, it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. Or actually, you know what? Let's take it maybe again, because blog posts, you could monetize it, right? But like, imagine it's a patent, right? Like you're writing a patent, and that is the patent. So now you can basically fractionalize the ownership of it, and whoever buys that will deserve future royalties as revenue comes in. Now, again, you see, I'm adding another layer. Okay, but royalties, like who's using the royalties? So again, you need a back-end system, a royalty management system that would be able to basically track who is using it, where are people using it. So today we're seeing just a similar process with music, maybe to kind of, own it in. We have companies like Dequency on Alogrand or Stowy. Stowy is the song that owns itself. Let's take Dequency as an example. Dequency is a music to visual. It's like an audio visual sync licensing platform. Right. So you will take some kind of audio file along with some kind of video file, and you would mint that as an NFT. Right. And then through their platform, and as it's being used, all of the royalties are taken care of in a completely decentralized manner, because this is all smart contract based. So basically, when someone uses that, they will pay this smart contract, imagine like an escrow account, and then that escrow account, based on who owns it, would distribute the royalties in a predefined manner. So you could say, all right, 10% to the original artist, or 10% to the video, 10% to the audio, and then if there are additional shareholders, they each again get their fractional, percentage. Again, what's so new about this, just to say, is that there's no middleman. The middleman is the software. It's so how Chris, it's being.
Let's say you had a band, right? Let's say you were the keyboardist in a band, right? And you put together this, really spectacular song, right? Let's say it was called Who's Jane? Let's just say it was called Where's Jane? Was the name Where's of the band. Jane, right? Let's say that's the name of the band.
It wasn't a song.
And you put together a track that's so good, right? And everybody's talking about it. So you're like, well, how do I make money from this? The historic model, right? You have to find a publisher that distributes that and puts it on the radio and all that. It, like, you kind of have to dedicate that and to that and make that your thing. You're no longer a musician. You're a musician that's also a business person that feels, you know, but you're also sort of beholden to those music producers, all of that, right?
That's right.
So let's change that metaphor up a bit, right? So now you publish that song as an NFT on the blockchain and you build 1 million copies of it, right? Now I love that song. I'm going to pay $1 for that song and I'm going to keep it in my wallet. And now I can play that song in my wallet anytime I want, right? Like the old Walkman technology, and I own it. I own that copy of that song, right? Now I don't like that song anymore because, you know, I've heard so many that are similar on Garage. What's the one you put it on? I don't remember. Anyway,
SoundCloud.
Yeah, SoundCloud. And so then like, I'm like, well, I don't really necessarily want this anymore. So I put it back on the marketplace and I say, I want to sell this one, right? I don't want this anymore. Shamir's like, oh, I love that song, right? So he buys that song, right?
For $100 because it's such a good
So
song.
that's the important part here, right? So he buys it for $100 because there is a finite number of those songs available, right? So Shamir buys that song and he's stoked, right? Now he's got it in his wallet and he can listen to it anytime he wants, right? Well, guess what happened to you when I sold that song to Shamir? You get a 10% royalty of it. You get 10% of that cut. And every time it transfers, you get the initial cut that you sold it for. And then every time it sells, you get 10% of that cut. Now, as an artist, as a musician, there is a path forward for you to make a living doing this that's not beholden, like you're not giving a whole bunch away to publishing companies. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. But just what? So on one hand, it feels like it's Wild West. On the other hand, right there, you said you get 10% going forward. Who decided that?
Well,
You do.
Yeah, you do. It's built into the contract. It's built into the NFT.
Oh, okay.
That's right. That's right. So they're actually,
It's
more accurately, they're yeah. So there are actually two ways it could be predefined in the NFT itself, 100%, and or there are certain marketplaces that if it's published on that marketplace, they will take a certain fee or and even give royalties at a certain fee. But that's on top of, it's not instead of, right? Like, so the default is whatever's programmed in that NFT. Now, by the way, you know what, Paul, you were reminding me of is 1,000 True Fans. Are you guys familiar with the 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly?
I'm not.
Okay, so 1,000 True Fans, I encourage everyone listening to this to just look it up. It's a very, very short and really classic, in a sense, paper published by Kevin Kelly. And the concept there is that it was written back in 2006, just so you understand, right? With the emergence of Web 2.0, the concept there is that as a creator, you don't need to reach millions or billions of people. All you need is 1,000 true fans. Now, what is a true fan? A true fan is a super fan, right? These are the people who will follow you. They'll go to your shows. They'll buy your book, right? They'll buy the poster of your movie. Like, they'll do all of these things. And the premise there is, again, you just do, it's a simple kind of math exercise, right? If you have 1,000 true fans that are each paying $100 a year to see you, to be with you, to do something that has to do with you, that's $100,000 salary, right? And that's something that people can respectfully live with, really, again, and anywhere they want. Now, again, you know, the math can be 500 that pay more, or, you know, 2,000 fans that pay. It doesn't matter, right? The gist is that that for the first time, Web 2 actually, right, allowed people, allowed the long tail, let's call it, of monetization. But again, where it's lacking is the platforms that are those middlemen, right, that are taking the cut. So NFTs, in a sense, kind of open that door, I think, on a, you know, just in a whole new level when it comes to access, right? So I don't know, are you familiar with VeeFriends? Do you know Garyvee?
I do.
Well, you're marketers. Okay, yeah.
Gary,
so
Vaynerchuk, what's his last name?
Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk. You don't know Garyvee, Chris?
Nope.
All right.
You're such an old man.
You probably bumped into him at some point in time because he's everywhere.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
Yeah, but anyway, he's this kind of, you know, very, very ramped up, like, marketing, you know, guru, quote unquote, who has a lot of followers on Twitter, Instagram, you know, YouTube, etc. He documents his life. He talks a lot about marketing, and he got into NFTs fairly early. So the reason I'm mentioning him is because last year he did something fairly brilliant, in my opinion, by seeing where the ball is going. So he issued 10,000 NFTs called V Friends. Okay, these NFTs are basically doodles that he like just drawings of different animals, and he gave them cute names. But the point is that every single one of these, so it's not 10,000 unique ones, they're kind of classes of them, right? So imagine there's an elephant, there's a bear, there's an eagle, whatever, right? And every single one of these, so when you buy this NFT, you basically get two things, okay? One thing is access to VCon. VCon is Gary Vaynerchuk's own personal conference. It's his own South by Southwest. Yep. The other thing, and this is based on the actual NFT that you got, is you get access to Garyvee. What does that mean? It means, well, maybe you're buying an NFT that gives you a 5-minute Zoom call with him once a year, or you're getting a 60-minute Zoom call with him and 30 other people per year. Or it's a really, really high-end, V friend. So you get to go once a year to him with him to a Jets game. Right. So Garyvee is actually probably not the best example because he is so huge. Right. But you see where this is going, right? You as an artist, you as a creator, anyone, a musician, a writer, an illustrator, you can find those 1,000 true fans, and you can, by issuing these NFTs to them, not only establish that relationship, like you guys gave an example, right, of me buying Chris's song. Well, if I care so much about Chris, like, imagine how it makes me feel to own something that's meaningful to you. Right. And to know that it's scarce, to know that there are only so many of these, songs that Chris actually wrote. Right. So I think we're opening, a door to a whole new level of access and communication, basically, right, between creators directly with their fans, without the middlemen, with all the fluff, without the platforms. That will give me access. Now, again, so people have the NFT. How do they utilize it? Well, I would need to, I could put a section on my website for swag, for merch, right? And I could say only if you have an NFT, you can have access to this portion of the website, with the merch, and that's going to be your key, right? So it just, again, a whole new world of opportunities.
So, and
okay, and I'm following you so far, but and this may be, I'm just maybe going down a rabbit hole.
No, you're fine.
But let's say I've got 1,000. Let's say I've got the Garyvee model and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And let's say next week I get hit by a car.
This happens too much in marketing, by the way.
Now, and I'm dead.
You are correct.
All of those NFTs have overnight gone worthless, unlike
or
silver.
You're right. I know this.
Hold on. Or the legend of Chris Marriott begins.
Right.
Because now you will have, that's it. That was your magnum opus, right? Like that's all, there forever will be fewer, right? By definition, if God forbid, right? Like something happened to you. So I see what you're saying. And by the way, that's why I didn't buy a V friend, right? It was like, it was a really cool model. And I was like, oh, I definitely want to keep track of this and see like what it is. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized, am I a Garyvee groupie? Not really. I mean, I listen to it sometimes, but like, is this for me? No, it's not for me. Is it for his true fans? 100%. Right. And to your point, yeah, he could screw it up.
Well, he could wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm not going to honor it anymore. Screw it. Screw all you dummies.
That's right. And then
so
are putting.
Now they're worthless overnight. So you are
100%. Right. So you by buying it.
They can increase in value over time.
Sure. Yeah.
But they can suddenly overnight get obliterated.
Sure, they can. Well, we saw that with Milli Vanilli back in the day, right? Like, this is not new to NFTs, right? All of a sudden, like, we were all big Milli, blame it on the rain, it was falling, right? And then all of a sudden, wait, what? Rob and Fab, they're lip syncing, right? I mean, all of a sudden, those tapes disappeared out of our library, like,
right.
That's the reality of people.
Can you go get a refund? Probably not, right? For whatever you bought. No. So I mean, look, you're 100% right, but to Paul's point, like I agree. It's you know what you're getting into, right? If there's a reason that you care about something because of the artist, because of the organization, right, that's issuing it, or again, Dowser, I guess this whole separate thing, right? But my point is, if you are getting into it, you know what you're getting into, and you're right. Garyvee has that responsibility. You could even say, what if Garyvee issues another 10,000 V friends, right? So that's so. I mean, I think the point is, it's his responsibility to be accountable for it, right? And if he doesn't, it's a social contract basically.
It is,
and if he doesn't stand by it, then you're right. Like it is a scam, right? In a sense. But so I think the intent has a lot to do with it as well, quite frankly.
Well, I have a thought here for you, Chris, and also for you, Shamir. Like NFTs, like kind of suck up all the oxygen in the room when we start talking about Web3, right? Because they very much are a flashpoint, right? Like you have an immediate response. You're either like, I love these things, they're amazing, I can pay off my house in a weekend, or you're like, oh, I don't think that's a thing, right? But so I don't necessarily want to spend the whole time talking NFTs. We can, but like social contracts aren't new. Like I mean, I can tell you, Chris, like the Seattle Supersonics back in the day, like I grew up watching the Sonics. Like I know everything from like 1978, 79 until they left Seattle. Like every player, I knew where they lived. I knew all of those things, right? So I watched games, Chris. I watched every game. I went to games. I spent money on the Seattle Supersonics. I loved the Seattle Supersonics. Then do you know what happened? They moved to Oklahoma City. Do you know how many NBA games I have watched since then? Zero. I've watched zero NBA games, and I don't have any interest because the NBA broke the social contract with me. And at that point, I was like, I'm done. I would like, hey, these are my heroes. I'm going to teach my children about these heroes. I'm going to teach, we're going to talk, like, this is what we as a community are going to talk about. And then when the Sonics went away, that contract was broken, right? So it's not like this construct. It's just like so many of these things is we're taking existing models and just moving them online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go Sonics.
Yeah, no, 100%. And to add to that, I mean, at the end of the day, look, when we talk about NFTs, I think it really what we're asking ourselves is, or I mean, I guess the skeptic's take is, well, what gives it value, right?
Right.
Why do I care? Yeah.
And some of the things, I mean, here's when I go nuts. When Paul put that thing over his shoulder, that dumpster fire, he says it's an NFT and people were going to buy it. Yeah, I mean, you're not looking for 1,000 fans, you're looking for 1,000 idiots. I mean, why are, and one of my son's roommates created something and made $1 million, and it was an image. Why would
Good for him?
I mean, that's the wrong thing, I think.
Yeah.
Web 3.0 to focus on.
I would agree.
Creating idiot images that idiots buy and say that they're going to retain their value.
I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
It's
idiot
completely right. Now, okay, so here's how I think of it, and like again, everyone has their own view. First of all, I think
we're going to gang up on Paul, but I'll let you finish.
Let's do it.
I think now you're on my side.
If like that, there's nothing to that dumpster right behind him, except just the dumpster. Like there's no story, there's no narrative, there's nothing meaningful. I would agree with you, but let me just take a step back, right? So people buy NFTs for different reasons. Everyone sees, the prices going up and down. I would like to put that aside for a moment because the way I think of it, if the only reason why people buy NFTs is to wait for the price to appreciate and then sell it, right? So if that increase in value is the only quote unquote utility, the only reason that NFT is useful, that is a bubble.
Yep, 100%. Right? That is gonna burst.
Exactly. That is unsustainable, right? That is a Ponzi scheme, quite frankly, right? When that is the only utility.
Right.
But okay, hold on. Let's start. And actually, I'll add a little caveat, right? Okay. And again, I think one of the issues with NFTs and just like the hype or lack of hype, right? Like the disillusionment around them really is because a lot of people are just thinking of like ape pictures, right? Like profile pictures. And okay, so here's the thing, right, Chris? It starts there. It starts with these digital images that people can flex, right? So if I own an ape or a CryptoPunk, which are kind of the first NFTs, basically I'm saying either I came in extremely early, right? So I'm an early adopter. That's my way of signaling that. Or I'm saying I'm extremely wealthy because I own that, right? And today is very, very expensive. Or, maybe I'm extremely bullish on it, right? Because like I do believe, right, that this community or this price, or I think of it as an asset that, I 100% believe in. But I just want to take a step back and say NFTs are not profile pictures. Profile picture NFTs are the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg, right? And the reason it started there is, again, well, I guess a few reasons, but reason number one is digital images are very, very easy to track, again, of where it lives, right? Like, I want you to think of an NFT, like there will be a day where you will be able to turn your house into an NFT, or really any asset that you own. Your car can be an NFT, any asset, your freaking vacuum cleaner, all right? If it has value, and if you will gain value from turning it into an NFT, then it will be possible. Now, I know I'm kind of diverting, but my point being, we haven't even begun to imagine some of the use cases. But right now, you're starting to see it again in access, just like we said. Also imagine micropayments. I think, by the way, for the marketing crowd, micropayments are an extremely interesting example. So imagine you have this Web3 wallet, right, that sits on your browser, and you're paying a tenth of a penny to read an article, which is negligible for you, but from the publisher's perspective, it's way, way more than they're getting from Google, right, on like freaking like banner ads, right? So it makes sense from a user perspective and a publisher perspective, and it can open like this whole new world of access. But then you can also think of NFTs as a kind of a tool or a primitive that can help philanthropy. Right. So there's Ukraine DAO, like it's a really, really good way. Australia Zoo recently released a series of crocodiles along with Steve Irwin's son and the Australia Zoo. So I think they had like 1,000 or 10, they had a bunch. They had like 2,000 of these crocodiles, and they were like, not only do you get this unique crocodile that you can share on Twitter, but you're actually contributing, right, to the welfare of our animals.
To the zoo.
It's a zoo, exactly. So it's kind of this social signal of this is something I relate to. This is something that resonates with me. And at the end of the day, as a marketer, right, I often think of like tribes, and I think of identity in the sense of we as humans look for ways to define who it is that we are. And again, we belong obviously to different tribes, right? My family tribe, my community, my dumpster fire tribe, right? Because there are a bunch of other people who care about that dumpster file. Marketing, right? Like I'm in the marketing tribe. So we're very social creatures, and I think like to us, it really is a way to define who we are. So by again choosing, if you could look at my collection of NFTs, in a sense, I'm telling you what ideas, what causes, right? What culture I belong to. So it's a way of defining that. I'll just add another kind of couple things. Think of, again, guilds that could get together around a certain cause and each issue an NFT. Think of the opportunity, again, that fractionalization, that taking one of these things and then breaking it into much, much smaller pieces, again, can kind of open up, especially when we talk about inclusivity, right? So think of people in third world countries who don't have access to a bank, or maybe they do, but it takes them like a day to drive there. Well, now they have access to Web3 with their mobile phone, right? A Web3 wallet, whatever tokens. And imagine a world where they can suddenly issue NFTs, again, to represent either IPs, important inventions that they had, that they came up with, or even like, maybe their mule, right? They're issuing a token, an NFT is a mule, right? And then if that NFT is productive, they are essentially committing to the shareholders to get a portion of that stake, right? So it might be even $100 loan, quote unquote, right, of a fractionalized NFT, and then the royalties are distributed in an automated way. Again, like I know I'm kind of abstract and giving a lot of examples, but I'm trying to give you kind of a taste of.
And part of the challenge is it's still kind of froofy, right? Like we're still in that froofy
100%.
stage.
Yeah,
well, a couple of questions. One is, and again, this is what I have trouble grasping, maybe because it isn't really, but you had said, you have a collection of NFTs that define you and that show the world who you are.
Sure.
Potentially, that's you say, Shamir.
Yeah.
Where do you show these so that the world knows what you are? What do you have, a web page with tokens on it?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, yes. All right. So like, first of all, I could share my, my OpenSea link with you, and then you'll see exactly what NFTs I own. I could even just share my wallet, my Alogrand wallet address with you. And because it's a blockchain, right, you will able to take that wallet address and see all of the different assets that it owns in a very visual way. Now, to your point, I agree. I think there's still a gap on that front of how do I realize those NFTs. So NBA Top Shots, by the way, which is another, it's not a pure NFT play, but it's this idea of these NFTs based on like NBA moments that players have. I think that's just a small example of, they have a really seamless app where, again, for the young crowd, it's my phone. It's kind of, imagine like an Instagram-like experience where I'm showing you my NFTs. But there are also projects that are actually building, even Samsung, by the way, unveiled back in New York, this a couple weeks ago, like an NFT dedicated focused screen. So again, imagine it just replacing what you have on your wall. It's thin, it's seamless, it can rotate. Again, we're only at the beginning. So
and you're focused in on pixel art again. So let's back out for a second, Chris, right? Like what if that NFT, instead of being a pixel art, was a song, and instead of it being, you know what I mean? And now you got an MP3 player.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. The culture, the NFT crowd doesn't do them a favor. And I'm not saying you should.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'd agree.
Focusing on odd pictures. But so
I would agree.
We keep saying Web 3.0 is new. So let's frame that. Are we 1995 Web 1 stage, or are we,
I would say it's even earlier than that, probably. Like we've got these building block tech still.
Yeah.
And I think there's really innovative, cool stuff where people are like, let me try this thing and try that thing. But it's so, it's early.
Well, we had no idea in 1995 where Web 1 was going to go. It was green.
That's right.
So are we there where we're just scraping the surface of
we're somewhere there. Yeah. I mean, look, this is my own, subjective opinion. I would say yes. I would say we're very, very, very early, and it's not binary. It's not like, we're in Web 2, suddenly we're in Web 3. It's right. Like just think of the transition, right, from Web 1 to Web 2. You had all these different compounding things, right? Again, whether it's fast streaming, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's video, whether it's phones, right? Smartphones kind of entering. So it's kind of this perfect storm. And again, I'm going to quote a word that I learned from Chris Dixon again: skeuomorphic. Are you guys familiar with the concept? So skeuomorphic is this idea of when we move, when there's a big paradigm shift, we're always thinking in the terms of what we're used to, what we're familiar with. Hence, we have online, right? We have browser, we have Windows, right? We have buttons, right? So so it's thinking in Web 2 terms about Web 3. Right. And I think, like, to your point, we're very much still there, right? We're like, well, wait, how does this make existing things better? And I think the answer is it doesn't quite yet. It will, I think, but it doesn't quite yet. But what's really exciting is all these new opportunities that we can't even imagine. And like, I would very much consider us in the kind of the sandbox stage, right? Where there's a lot of trial and error, a lot of bullshit. I won't lie to you, right? There is a lot of bullshit, a lot of hype, a lot of miscommunication around like what this actually is. So and a lot of misunderstanding. NFT is bad for the environment. I've heard that a million times. And like, that's just another one of those. Well, that's true if you're talking about Ethereum specifically. And again, like Ethereum, the current Ethereum, they're transitioning to Ethereum 2.0. On Alogrand, it's carbon negative. Like there's an argument to be made. You're helping the environment when you're issuing an NFT. So I think there are a lot of misconceptions that have yet to be clarified. And, let's just face it, the vast majority of people still needs to be educated, I guess, in a sense, but really just kind of the experience needs to be better. It needs to be a Web 2 experience in this Web 3 ecosystem.
Well, and let's talk about that, because I think this is one of the things that Alogrand has really done a fantastic job of. Kudos to you and your team. And that's sort of really embracing the business world, right? Like marketing specifically, right? Alogrand has a partnership with FIFA, the big soccer organization, right? And so, certainly they're going to issue pictures of soccer players, like there's no question, or football players, depending on your, country of origin. Like that's without question, but there's going to be, ticketing, right? Like
ticketing's huge.
Yeah. There's so many different aspects that, as marketers, we can sort of be leaders in the space. And I think there's an opportunity there as well. I mean, this came up a little bit in our last podcast with Rajesh Jain, right? Where we started to talk about loyalty programs and tokens there, right?
Yep.
And so like right now you're seeing those pioneers see things that the rest of us don't see, right? And so things like loyalty programs, right, which has a tight alignment with retention marketing, email marketing, right?
Well, zero-party data and first-party data.
Ooh, right.
It's a funnel of that, so that's why they're more and more important.
Right.
With third-party cookies
So
going
I'd
there.
love, Shamir, you to talk a little bit about, you've been so generous with your time.
We got to do a time check. Yeah, I want to make sure.
We got 10 minutes, and I want to make sure that we give you time to talk more about your role at
Yes.
Alogrand, a little bit
Good.
about Alogrand. We want you to plug what you're doing so that our listeners can be aware of it. And so I think, idea of looking at Alogrand, cryptocurrency, NFT, all of that from the perspective of the digital marketer, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's only getting started. So I mean, let's start with Bray Browser. I think is a wonderful example, because we talked about, so Bray Browser is basically just a browser. Like, you can use it, you don't need to know anything about anything. It's that familiar web experience. But I think what they did, which was really unique, was kind of added this crypto layer to it, where through an opt-in process, right? So you saying, hey, I'm this and this age, and I love the NBA, and this is my favorite team, right? Then you are essentially kind of, again, it's permissioned marketing, right? Like, it's me saying, here's, you don't even care who I am, right? You don't, like, what you care about is, maybe well, I guess you might care about where I live. You might care about, like, my income, but really you care about my intent. You care about, what do I care about, right? So I think, like, Brave Browser, what they did was, again, they reward you for your attention, which I think is a really, really nice paradigm shift. Again, there's a little bit of friction there, but I think that is that's a model that you're going to see increasingly more often. And I mentioned this before, but I do think we're moving to a place where there's going to be less friction, and it's going to be more about pull marketing than push marketing, right? More about consumers saying, this is what I care about. This is my tribe. And by the way, my tribe might include, again, Lululemon, or a corporation. Yeah, well, there you go, right? Like, it might include these organizations because I consider, again, their values aligned with mine, right? And suddenly, I think there are all these new ways to again, kind of establish that relationship. So, I mean, you mentioned loyalty, and rewards and things like that. It's a natural fit, right? Like, why wouldn't I? So if I could buy a Lululemon NFT that gives me, a 20% discount throughout the year, through their shop, or, I don't know, it gives me access to events they do, or, maybe they have some kind of collaboration with FIFA, right? Like Lululemon FIFA, the campaign. So only the NFT holders, right, can access either, again, a limited edition shirt or event or something like that. Right. Suddenly, there are all these new ways, right, for brands, for creators to engage with the end users, as opposed to kind of the old school, like, impressions, clicks, conversions, right? Like, when we think of Web3, and we haven't even talked about, like, metaverse and gaming and things like that, which is probably, that can be our next discussion.
Yeah,
right?
We may have to have you back.
We'll save it. All right. Yeah. All good. So, but I guess where I'm going with it is that that basically we're going to be starting to think about experiences, right? And, like, engagement, really, like, and actions that people are taking that are much more than, just like funnel. Right. It's more about, like, so I love the HubSpot flywheel model. And I think on the podcast with that you just mentioned, he refers to it. He doesn't talk about the flywheel, like, per se, but it's really about this. OK, we engage with people. That's fine. That's been working for a long time. Right. We engage with them, and then at the end of the day, we, like, after that conversion event, right, your customer is not your output. That's why I hate the funnel. Like, it's not like the sausage, right, where, like, suddenly you have something at the end and that's it, right? It's a flywheel. So the way I think of it is, again, you engage, and then you attract, then you engage, and then you delight them, right? So that delight, that's where you're creating more sticky product, and you're getting people to come back the next time, and you're creating, brand advocates and people who are going to be spreading your story and telling the word, and they are your marketing, right? So I think we're entering to this phase where like a lot of it's going to be about the delight, about that user experience, and about meaningful engagement. And once that happens, like again, advertising is just gonna, as we know it at least, right? It's gonna be less and less important. It's gonna shift, right? I think the paradigm's gonna shift towards like permissioned, meaningful interactions between creators and their users, and between brands and their users.
Well, and I mean, yes and no, and I know we're running out, but there are those products that people are passionate about, and there are those products that people need.
Right.
And Crest toothpaste, I'm never going to have a relationship with. So I think there's the intrusion, the push model will never go away completely. But I think there's a lot of brands, to your point, Shamir. God, we could talk an hour about this. That pull model. The brand is the experience was something people started saying in the 90s about like Starbucks. So
what happens, Chris? What happens, Chris, when those group of people, the Lululemon and the FIFA group, get together and they've got this thing? But now Crest is like, actually, there's a lot of buyers in that tribe. I would love to promote my toothpaste within that tribe.
Right.
And now they can sort of.
But that's still a push.
Yeah.
That's still a push model.
Fair.
Right.
But
that's fair.
It's opted in though, right? Like
right.
I don't think push goes away. I don't think that at all, right? That's not.
I don't think it can, because there's certain things that products need to be introduced that we can't even be passionate about it.
Well, and I want to be surprised occasionally, right? Like I want to learn about something that I didn't know, right?
Right.
So,
geez, I didn't know
as
that
long as I'm the
existed,
audience.
and I didn't know that I needed that or wanted that.
Right.
Like I always go back to the Walkman. When Sony introduced the Walkman, they needed to have an ad there because at that point Paul was walking around with a boombox.
Right. I still am, and people are like, "What's the deal with the old guy?"
And Sony was like, "What about something that is personal?" Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation as well.
We've got 2 minutes left with you, Shamir. What do we need to make sure that you get a chance to say?
I mean, I haven't talked about Alogrand. I haven't really plugged it in. All I'll say is, look up Alogrand. Alogrand is an advanced layer 1 blockchain protocol that really solves a lot of the issues that you might have been hearing about blockchain. Fast, again, carbon negative, super fast. So 4.5 second transaction time. It's going to be like 2.5. 5 seconds sorry, that's what I said, 4.5. And just scalable and decentralized. Built for purpose, built for billions of users. So I think that's really what's interesting about Alogrand. And we have over 2,000 companies building on Alogrand. When we talk about blockchain, let me maybe just leave it at this, right? Blockchain is kind of this wonderfully complex organism. Think of it as a technological organism that, it's not one thing. And Web3, it's really the same thing, right? That is cross-vertical. And through, again, the fundamental technology of immutable ownership, right? And the fact that it's transparent and you can see where things live, opens this whole new world of opportunities for the internet as we know it, and for different industries, whether, again, it's supply chain or insurance or art or music, and I can keep going, gaming, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I'll leave it at that. I encourage everyone to check out Alogrand. You're welcome to find me and DM me if you have any questions on Twitter. So it's my handle is just at OZERY, at Ozery. I guess
thank you.
I'll
so
leave
much.
it at that.
What an incredible I think discussion. And I think we just barely scratched the surface, right?
Like, we did.
We often joke about having people back. I think we're going to have to get you back because I think there's at least another hour of conversation here. But
So thank you for your time. Thank the foundation for sharing you with us. We are grateful.
We're sorry, producer Ian was late, but we'll talk to him after the show. So
all good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. How great was that?
I thought spectacular. Honestly, already knowing things about blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, I learned things. And I think this should be standard listening for anybody who's sort of entering or interested in understanding the space a bit.
I agree. I agree. I learned more probably on this episode about something I knew nothing about than probably any other episode. So good get, Paul. Great guest. We may have to have him back. But wait, who's that new face? Oh,
I haven't introduced you, Chris. I'm so sorry. This is our new producer.
There.
This is new producer, Ian Morton. So we're grateful to have him on the show, on the big show.
Yeah, I'm glad
Chris
to
meet
hear.
Ian meet Chris.
Hi,
It's
Chris.
awkward we're doing this on recording, but
It is a
you know,
little uncomfortable, just a bit.
Yeah, let the guy talk, Paul. Well, I mean, again, you have big shoes to fill. We talked about this, I think, the last episode, though you weren't on it. That you have big shoes to fill for producer David, who turned his back on all of us, frankly, for the last time. You know, you're off to a rocky start. Yeah, probably a little bit. I mean, you were late to the recording today. There's certain, you know, but we have very high hopes for you, and we're a very nurturing podcast.
Yeah.
I want to be for you the person I
mean, the number of times David Inman said, I really looked at Chris Marriott as a life mentor. I think that's kind of what you're wanting to get at. Is that right, Chris? You're thinking, how do I bring Ian Morton along?
I want to be for Ian the person I wish I had when I was Ian.
I'll take it.
Right.
I need those people.
Yeah, you do know. You need it.
Look, I need
a
like
touchstone. You need a
clearly-
North Star.
clearly under Paul's tutelage alone, I can't get here on time. So I need some influence and some inspiration from you, Chris.
Well, good. And also lunch options. You know, and one of the things that David used to do, and maybe he left it, is he had a spreadsheet.
I have the spreadsheet.
All right. So what we expect is now was Fusakli's on that spreadsheet?
I don't think it was, and probably should have been.
Yeah, I think, you know, what I'd like to do, Ian, is have you continue David's important work on comparing and contrasting the quality of chicken sandwiches. I think it was some groundbreaking research, and
In fact, it is. Yeah, people still speak of it.
I'll do what I do what I can, Chris. Unlike David, I don't have a proclivity for fast food that he did. But you know, I'll try my best.
for what kind of food?
Fast food.
Oh, I thought you said craft food, and I thought
No,
that's an
no.
interesting. David also, just, you know, Ian, I mean, your background's very boring. I mean, I can't say much about Paul's, but I think you need to rethink where, you know, David would always have some fun, fake background, you know, and so you need to up your game, either having a virtual
And maybe
background.
maybe that's the assignment we give you this week, Ian, is that you would come back with a very clever and rich background that would bring some sort of interest to Chris and I.
Yeah, and that might bring a smile.
Right.
Look, I don't want anything more than to bring a smile to your face, Chris. Like, that's all I'm here for. That's the only thing I really like. The ghost of David passed when he shared his wisdom with me about becoming a producer. He was like, just make Chris smile. That's all.
Yeah. And which brings us to the ghost of David present. And then, you know, we want to plan for the ghost of David future, you know? So I hear that.
I don't know what that means, but
No one does. And that's usually a pretty good signal that we've probably gone too far.
We've reached the end of the show. So again, great episode today. Great get, Paul. Learned a ton. Ian, welcome to the program.
Glad to
Again,
have
you have nowhere to go but up. So.
Right.
So we'll see you all when we got another good episode. Again, as you know, we don't do these weekly anymore, but we're constantly on the lookout for great guests. And so you'll see us again. We'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Ciao.